Okay, hello, everybody, nobody. This is Chris, and this is Compassionate Time Management with Chris. And this is something I've been so passionate about doing. I've been telling myself I was going to do for like a lot of weeks. And time management, or like what I really prefer to call working with time, is something that I have had to think a lot about, because my mind is all over the map and goes everywhere and loves almost everything. And so it's really something I've had to learn how to do. So I'm actually trying this out on a multi-stream platform for the first time called Restream. So um, I've got it on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. So let's see what happens. Um, let's see. So there's comments are supposed to appear if anyone comes on and happens to notice this first one that I'm doing. Um, and the purpose of this is that I would like to come on every Wednesday at 10 and do compassionate time management with Chris. And any questions you have, any challenges you have with focusing your attention, procrastination, overwhelm. There's just a whole bunch of things that I have learned through just, well, spiritual practice that I've done, but also just from like basic books, right? And then practical books on time management, or, you know, some books are sort of anti the actual phrase time management, but you get the idea. So I've kind of become an encyclopedia of these topics, and there's a lot of really cool stuff out there that could help you just kind of like get more done, or maybe it's actually get less done. Maybe what you're actually hoping to do is get less done. How about that for a book? Get less done in your job and spend more time with the people you love, or working on a social change project or an art project. And if you want to do that, that's awesome. I'm really happy about that. But I think the key word here is effectiveness, right? So like the thing is, how can we be more effective? When we look back at the end of our lives, are we going to say, what was that all about? Why did I waste so much time doing X or not doing X? Or are we going to say, wow, that was awesome? And that's our goal, right? That's my goal, is to like have as much life in my life as I possibly can. So that's my aim, and um, I'm trying to help people do that as well. So if you have any questions at all about uh, time management and just like how to get more out of your day, do you feel overwhelmed? Do you feel um, ADD a little bit, or ADHD a little bit, or maybe a lot? Like, I'm not pretending to be like a psychiatrist or whatever, but I think like, and I've never been diagnosed with ADHD. I'm not sure where I would show up on that, but I would show up somewhere in some part of that. And so I've had to teach myself a lot of techniques and methods, and I would love to share them if you have any questions. And then what I'd like to do as I go forward is actually invite people, if they want to be like coached live or whatever, and they get free coaching basically in how to manage their time better, manage their energy better. Yeah, so it's something I really, really enjoy and care about. Um, yeah, and then I guess the last thought was, as a freelancer or a contractor for like most of my life, and especially over the last 17 years or so, I've absolutely had to learn how to do that. So there's very little structure, and I have to create structure for myself. So anyway, that's what I do. Um, I had one thought that I wanted to share as a thought to spool out. And once again, if you have any questions, if there's anyone out there right at this moment, let me know and type them in the chat. Any challenges you have, or any questions, or any books you'd like recommendations on, because I'm familiar with a lot of the books now about this stuff, and I sort of synthesize a lot of them. So here's what I want to say. I was talking to my two buddies on my kind of semi-mastermind that we have every Monday, and we've actually had it since the pandemic started 2 years ago. And I said, I'm going to do this. I'm just going to go on and do compassionate time management with Chris 10 a.m. on Wednesday. So you can see well, if anyone was here to notice, they would have noticed that I actually didn't start until about 10:15. So, but basically they, the point is to do the best you can, right? I mean, if this was a major thing that I knew a lot of people were coming to, and or if they were paying for it, or if I had a big audience or whatever, or an audience, then I wouldn't let it happen this way. I would create it differently. But the thing I really wanted to say, so they said, oh, why don't you wait until next week, and then you'll have time to prepare, blah, 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 blah. And that really got me thinking about preparation and how easily we can fall into this trap of preparing and preparing and preparing and planning. And it really gave me an interesting idea that I wanted to share. So it's like, first the joke, right? So, what I said was, oh yeah, I guess I could plan some more. And then maybe I might have to plan some more. And then maybe I need to go over and adjust my business plan, and I just need to adjust my business plan a little longer. Oh no, the paper tray doesn't have the right kind of paper. Okay, now I'm over at Netflix, and this looks interesting, and now a friend calls me, and I've lost the entire day, right? So I think the basic idea I had, which I think is really interesting, is that we can design the things we want to share with the world, whether it's a business idea, a presentation, a new type of work or coaching or anything. We can design the way we present it, the way we roll it out, in such a way that we lower the temperature on it until it becomes doable to do so. Because we all pretty much, with a few exceptions in this culture population, have a tendency to want to kind of like polish it a little more, make sure it's perfect. And the temptation to make sure it's perfect first is usually a lot more of an excuse, a way to get yourself to not have to show up because it's really hard to show up and it's scary to show up, or it feels hard to show up. I think when we do show up, it feels good, or eventually it feels good. So we can, so let's take this, right? I think even in the past, I would have said, oh, compassionate time management with Chris. Wow. I think I like that name. I'm not sure. I also would like to call it working with time or making friends with time, because I don't even like the phrase time management. So, okay, great. I could spend a whole weekend on that. There's an excuse to not get started, well, I need a banner and a graphic. And also, like, these curtains are kind of weird. And the bookcase is kind of weird too. It's like, it's okay. It's an improvement of what I had before because I didn't have any curtain. This is actually one half of it is like an office kind of room, and the other one half is a kitchen in this apartment that I have. So, and also there's echo. There's so much echo. Oh my God, I've got to get rid of the echo. So maybe I'll start next month. So much of what we really need from people and want from people is care and their essence and their time and their attention. And when we hold back and wait until everything's perfect, we're actually holding back our care, love, and attention. And don't you think that people might be willing to accept that if you're willing to bring that rarest of things these days, your love, time, and attention to people, they might actually forgive you for like having wrinkles in your curtains, or like the fact that this bookshelf looks like it's coming out of my head instead of I don't know, what being the way I want it to be. So let's talk a little bit more about how you actually do that. What am I talking about? Designing, what it means to design what you want to roll out to the world so that it lowers the temperature, so that it becomes easier to roll out. Now, I mean, one of the things you can do with any sort of enterprise, a lot of enterprises you have, is you can call it a beta, right? This is something that Silicon Valley has done a really good job of in terms of saying, hey, this is a beta. And so you expect there to be a few warts and wrinkles, and you expect there to be a few things if something is a beta, and it actually invites the people in to test it out. I heard recently New York Times is introducing a new like podcast type app where it recommends podcasts to you or something. Sounds pretty interesting, actually, what they're doing. And they're like, this whole thing about this new thing they're doing and how exciting it was. And then they're like, here's where you go to sign up for the beta. And so that means, I mean, they'll get tens of thousands of applications. But every one of those people feels like, wow, I get to be in a special thing because I'm in a beta. So they actually feel special about it when it's framed as a beta. And they're also expecting it to be something that might have a few little wrinkles. If it's not a disaster, then people are a lot more willing to put up with a few wrinkles because it's a beta. What are some other ways you can lower the temperature? Well, I mean, if you're planning to give a talk to 100 people, give it to one person and then give it to 3 people. Lower the expectations down to a reasonable, a manageable level. Remember that it's like if the thing you want to bring out to the world and give to the world, let's say it has 100 fear, anxiety, stress points, right? It has 100 fear, anxiety, stress points associated with it. The truth is that maybe half of those anxiety stress points, maybe 60%, maybe 60 of those 100 anxiety stress points are probably associated with the very, very first part, with the part of actually getting started, with the part of actually being seen, with the part of actually showing up for someone. So if you can find a way to do that, then that's great. And of course, there's always this question of quality. So is the thing that I'm putting out of good quality? So I think the thing I'm putting out right now is of good quality. It's like, it's small and I'm showing up and being myself and just doing what I do, right? The promise isn't huge. I'm not charging money for this particular thing. I'm not saying, you're going to completely change your life from watching this. Although things could change your life if you use some of these ideas, for sure. So I feel like there's value in it, and that's the core. So related to the promise I'm making, which is to show up and serve and be useful with a thing I love to do and know a lot about, where I know that people really need and want this thing, I am providing a lot of value, and it is a good product in that sense, as small as it is or whatever, or as simple as basic as it is, better word to say than small. And so that's really cool. So you see what I'm saying, like I designed it to be doable. I've designed it to be manageable. I've designed it to be as simple as possible. Um, and that's allowing me to have it not be this like threatening monster that is overwhelming to me, right? Yeah. Yeah, that really addresses that piece, which is, well, I need to tweak the logos a little more because otherwise people won't think it's good enough. Um, yeah, up to a point. Uh, so yeah, make it as good as it needs to be right now. And you might be surprised at how much people don't care about all those other little finer details at first. If you can bring your care and your time. There's another really critical point to this, uh, which is when we tend to go back and plan and prepare and imagine, and then we want to throw out our plans and try a new plan, and we haven't even brought it to the world, we haven't even gotten feedback on it. We tend to make a lot of stuff that never actually gets seen at all. We could easily burn through tens of thousands of dollars, thousands or tens of thousands of dollars of, I don't know, training that may or may not be necessary, web development for sure, graphic design, planning, business planning, all that stuff, to prepare for something. And then when you actually go and bring it out to people, they're like, oh yeah, we don't like this. Like, this doesn't work for us. This other thing works. Like that's that realization was where the idea of lean startup was born, because Eric Ries and his team were building some kind of social gaming app thing for teenagers, and then they worked and worked and worked for like years on it, and then they introduced it, and then the teenagers thought it was dumb. They were like, I'm not going to use these avatars. They make me look stupid. And so they wasted all that time. And the best thing he could do with that lesson was to go, let me teach people never to have to make that same mistake. So once again, like if you, not only is you can fall into a trap of over planning in the sense of really having it be an excuse to delay your delay your starting, because it's easier to plan for a lot of us than to show up and share and get feedback. You're liable to go into the planning black hole and maybe never come out. And then you're also not going to get feedback, which would steer you towards what people are really liking. And so you also have the potential black hole of wasting an enormous amount of time. So that's the basic idea. So like, how can you, whether it's a conversation you planning to have with your boss, or a presentation you want to give, or a blog post you want to write, or a podcast you want to start, or a business you're working on, how can you take, if you just feel what's the scariest, biggest part of that? Be honest, right? And then go, okay, how can I pare that down? How can I make that, like, how can I give myself a win by taking that scary part? Let's say the scary part is like just going live, right? So I'm not feeling scared about it right now, but I mean, anyway, I could be. So I just sort of let it go. Um, but how can I take that part and break it down into a baby step? How can I make that safer? How can I frame it better? I mean, honestly, the fact that I didn't invite anyone is kind of helpful, because I just said, I just really want to do this. And I really, really hope that people start wanting to ask questions. And I'll be here. I want to keep being here doing this. My aim is to keep being here every Wednesday at 10 to help anybody with their procrastination, because I know I can help, or their ADHD, because I know I can probably help you create more structures that will help, or attitude changes or habit changes. There's so many places where this is the cool thing. Like, you bang and bang and bang on the door one way of trying to make progress. Like, I just try to make myself be more disciplined, and I try and I try and I try. And then I succeed for a minute, and then I lose it again. And damn, why did I do that? Why did I do that? And it's a horrible way to sort of beat yourself up. So if I do continue to end up calling this compassionate time management with Chris, you can see why, because the compassion for ourselves is important. And we all have a instinctive, reactive little creature inside of us, lizard brain, that it's never going to go away. We're never going to not have a lizard brain that gets anxious or fearful or whatever. But the sort of higher part of us can work with that and build trust with that and allow it to relax a little. Like, we can sort of parent from our executive function, from our higher function. We can sort of parent that part, and much like a parent, like, keep the kid out of trouble, or keep the kid out of getting us into trouble by, like, I don't know, breaking something important or whatever. And so the point I was trying to make there is that, like, we can really bang away. I'm trying all I can. And a lot of what these techniques, these habit change methods and mindset practices and different ways of quote unquote managing time, or being with time better, is probably a better way to say it. All of these ways, I think they probably have one thing in common, which is you realize you've been trying as hard as you could, but you were banging at the door all day long with the same part of your same fist and hoping things would get better, and they never did. And it's like, well, someone could just try. Have you tried opening the door? There's a story that David Hawkins tells about this monkeys in a cage, and they put the bananas right outside the cage, and their monkeys are grabbing through the bars and grabbing through the bars, trying to get the bananas, and trying more and more furiously to get the bananas, right? And then finally, the more furious they get about getting the bananas, the more frustrated they get and more exhausted they get. And the less they realize that they could just go back, that the door behind them, the door of the cage, was open. If they would just relax, they could walk back through the door, around, and get the bananas. So it's kind of like that. That's what these methods are like. When we feel our most discouraged, when we feel our most lost, I think it's like we believe there's only one way. And that's an amazing thing, is that there's always more than one way. There's always many ways to create something. And so often, like, that's where the wisdom drops in, the wisdom from all these people that have written these books and thought through these things and done all this work. Or each one of our wisdoms is that it can bring in a new perspective. Sometimes just relaxing can bring in a new perspective too. Taking a walk, Just taking a walk, taking a deep breath, like that old thing, is really helpful. So those are some of my thoughts. I've been going for half an hour. No, 25 minutes. That's kind of cool. It says no one is watching me, so I'm actually a little surprised that no one is watching me because I have friends on Facebook, but whatever. And also, Instagram is not being counted, I guess, because I should be on Instagram as well too. Anyway, if anyone saw this, that's really cool. If they didn't, I got to practice, and I will continue to do this. Thanks.